How's it going, everybody? Woo! Happy Monday evening stream. I was working yesterday. I could not stream yesterday. I apologize. But thanks for being here tonight. Nick, dude, how do you do it so fast? I start the stream, and by the time I make a couple more clicks and open up the chat, you've already said hi. How do you do that? Are you living in the future? You must be living in the future. That's what I think. That's the only way it can happen. How's it going, everybody? There's a couple new people here. Blue Cows. How's it going, Blue Cows? Gary, how's it going? Karen Black, you're good afternoon. Holy cow. Tuesday afternoon. Man, oh man. Father Time's here. I haven't done anything with the bug, but I look at it all the time and go, oh, one day. I walk past it every time I get in my leaf. Had my phone in my hands and got lucky. It seems like you do that a lot, though. It seems like you're always one of the first. Well, thanks for being here. All right, Chris is here. Hello from North Carolina. Are there any basketball games tonight? There should be. All right. Another Nick. Turtle Thumper. How's it going? I am. Oh, I just ate a bunch of birthday cake. Janice just brought me dinner, but I just ate a bunch of birthday cake.
I'll take it.
Zach will eat it. I'll eat some later. It was Zoe's birthday this week, so we had some leftover birthday cake, and I was having some difficult news to deal with, so I was just eating some birthday cake. Michigan plays tomorrow. Go Blue. Go Blue. Going to beat UCLA. So UConn. So you're talking about the women, Doug. The women just played? I like that they do them at the same time. That's good for the women. It's good to get everybody excited about basketball at the same time. That's good. How's the Hobbit Hole? What? You steal mine, Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
My entire life right now is consumed by the Hobbit Hole. That is. So how is it going? It's making progress. It's making progress, and it's experiencing setbacks at the same time. Our current setback is concrete. Apparently, there's some sort of like cement powder shortage, and so we've been not entirely due to that, but that's the latest delay. But we were delayed like a week because of some engineering and wanting to make a higher foundation wall. And then we thought we were going to have that worked out for this week. And then we found out that they're having a hard time just getting enough concrete. So, but yeah, the TV did start filming. They started filming last week. And I do have my Reolink camera. Do you guys want to see what it looks like up there? Let's check it out. We can check it out. And then, as you probably saw from the title on the show tonight, we're going to have Derek on. Derek is I guess he's the CEO. Lumen Cache is his company. And that's that. Oh, it needs to be muted. Oh. Anyways, there it is. It's windy as heck up there. You can see the road. Sorry about the noise. I don't know how to mute it. Oh, there it goes. There it goes. All right. You can see how windy it is. It's shaking the camera around. There's part of our road. Up here, these piles of dirt is where the pavilion's going to be. So that's where our solar panels are going to be. And then right here, this is where the Hobbit Hole is. It's not a great picture when you stream it like this, but this is a pretty great camera, I got to say. You take little snapshots, you take little videos. Pretty cool, huh? And this camera hasn't gone down in battery life at all, and it always has 4 bars on 4G. Now, maybe those are just icons. Maybe they don't really mean anything, but isn't it pretty good? This is a pretty good image quality. I've been very impressed. And at night, it actually shows up at night, too. I can see all these hills and stuff at night. I've got a few pictures on my phone from the nighttime. We'll check on it again. Remind me before the stream's done tonight. We'll check on it again after it's dark, because as you can see, it's pretty twilighty there. But the plan is, I think this is still the plan. Where is it? Southeast Idaho. Southeast Idaho. Several Reolink battery cameras. Yeah, it's the PT Go or something like that. Ikafar, how you doing? Thank you for subscribing. Again. Yes, it's got a rechargeable battery on it, but then it also has a solar panel. So it basically just charges every day. I know, right, Jacob? Dr. Pepper theft. And he didn't even bring it back.
I'm sorry, I'm still eating it.
Ah, turd. doing it to show off now. Yeah, that's like the PTZ Go or something like that. Turtle Thumper, thanks for following. Let's just play a little bit of fun stuff. I like to do this at the beginning. So I did have some fun. I've been prepping the RV. So we're getting the RV ready to go up there. Thank you. And we're basically going to be living in the RV for the next week and a half-ish, somewhere along there, probably. And so I've been working on some things, getting the RV ready. Turns out I didn't winterize it nearly as well as I should have. And so I had to replace a piece on the water pump that cracked because it froze. But I did, we sorted out some other issues. We had a battery, the battery had a bad cell, the coach battery, the house battery. So I got that replaced. And then I did take that solar panel that Banggood gave me, and I bought a charge controller, an MPPT charge controller from Amazon, and hooked it up to that. And now I'm able to charge the batteries with solar. So now we can go up there, and we probably don't even have to run the generator. I mean, if we wanted to do a few things, we could run the generator a little bit, but last time we had to run the generator to charge the batteries a little bit if we went too long. The battery might last longer now that it's new, but also we can recharge it with solar. And on the next Banggood goodies, I asked them to send me this wind turbine. It says it's going to be 1,500 watts. I cannot believe that it's going to be 1,500 watts, but I'll be happy if it's like 300 watts or something. Been there, done that. Been there too. Ouch, been there. So, has everybody failed to winterize their RV at some point? Really? That's awesome. I mean, that's not awesome. That really sucks, but you make me feel better, so thank you. So Lumen cache. So we're going to get in a couple minutes here. So I got at 7:30, I got on a few minutes early so we could chat. But then at 7:30, we're going to have Derek come on. He's going to join via Zoom. And we're going to talk about Lumen cache, and we're going to talk about what specifically I need in the Hobbit Hole. And Rich Campbell is also our local expert. So he's going to be, he just sent me a message. Are you here, Rich? You must be right. I can try and answer your question there, Yusuf. Do you have an object face recognition on my cameras or bare bones HasIO images? I have only played with it for that. I did that little Mark Rober class. There you are. I did that little Mark Rober class like in January. And as part of that class, I did that dishes recognition thing, right? So trying to recognize dirty dishes. But basically, I don't have facial recognition on my cameras. I think I could on the Reolink stuff, but I don't currently. Hey, Sir Goodenough's here. He's been hiding. Shh. Yeah, 1,500 is probably a theoretical max. Yeah, like 100-mile-per-hour winds or something. You worked at a trailer court hotel. Oh, really? Well, that's interesting. Oh, I see. That was Reese's question. Did Sir Goodeenough miss a stream? Nope. No. Okay, well, it is 7:30. Let us get to it. Let's get Derek. Let me find the link. It's probably in my calendar here. Derek is a charismatic fella. Last time I talked to him and I talked for like an hour and a half. I did record my Luciferin video today. So Luciferin is kind of like Hyperion, and I recorded the video today because I've had the script written for a long time. And then when I got done, I went back and looked at it and didn't have any audio. So yay, as in not yay. Please wait. The host will let you in soon. So we'll have to play around with this a little bit and see how best to get Derek in there. Join with computer audio. Hello. Oh, hey, Derek, how you doing? I'm going to put you, I'm already on the stream. Did you know? Uh-oh. Yeah. Are you ready? I am. Okay, good. Now. This is pretty as I'm going to get. Sorry. You're looking good. You're looking good. You had a very white room there.
I've already had 2 meetings this morning, so
Oh man, I'm sorry. Another cup of coffee. So for those of you that don't know, Derek is actually in Shenzhen, right? All right. Thank you, Syracuse, for the super chat. So I guess you guys can hear him. Nope, it says they can't hear you. Okay, let me fix that. Very low sound. Okay, we'll fix that. Let's fix it. Microphone. Oh, yeah. And of course, the more complex it is, the harder it falls, right?
That's right. Now you know why we
Now let me see in here. All right, sing us a song, Piano Man. Maybe they can hear you now.
I wish I could sing that one in Chinese, but I don't know.
Oh, that would be cool.
Can you hear me?
How about now, guys? Can you hear him?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Nope. And no. Okay. Well, we're not done. We'll get this.
Tell you what, I will switch the video and show.
Oh, good.
On my outside. I'll show what my outside looks like. Alright, shift my camera around here. There we go. Just a piece of Shenzhen.
There it is. Man.
Gotta be able to hear the construction noise. Bong, 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 bong.
Crazy. Okay, we got the sound dialed in.
Okay, we got it now?
Yes.
Good. I can go back.
That is crazy. That is amazing.
Yeah. This is a new library. There's 2 big metro lines. It's part of the big, I forget how many rail lines we have here. And then there's a high-speed rail that will take you 305 kilometers an hour to pretty much any city you want. Pretty cool. I'll come back inside so I can hear you guys. And I have, so I have the, there's echo. There's echo.
Hello.
Hi.
Bring me my tea this morning.
And her name's Echo, right?
Echo, yeah, or Life.
Now everybody's telling me that now there's an echo. Turn off the speaker. If I turn off the speaker, Reese, I can't hear him. Well, let's try something. Let's try this. Okay. How about now? Now of course I've got this dang thing. I've got Zoom going to the speakers. He's much quieter. You're much too quiet, they say. Oh, yeah? We're doing it this way. Okay, that should turn you up. Okay, that's going to be good enough. That's how we're going to do it. Okay. Derek, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining. Yes, that's right.
My
And
pleasure.
Blade says it's not a DrZzs stream unless something goes wrong. That's pretty much right. That's why we have this button right here. That'll do it. So I've talked about what's that? And it gets fixed.
He says it's not DrZzs if not something doesn't go wrong. I said, but then it gets fixed.
That's right. That's right. If it doesn't go wrong, what would I do? What would I do with all my time?
That's right.
Oh, hey, Blade, how are you? Oh, you're good. That's great. You recovered now? Blade had a bad case of the Rona. That's unfortunate. Yeah. All right. So Derek, as some of you guys may have heard me talk about before. Wait, I don't want this thing to be full screen. How did I get it to not be full screen? Standard. That's better. There we go. That's going to have to be what we do. Okay. So Derek, tell us about Lumen Cache. Tell us about your company, your project here. I know all about it from our conversation last time, but tell these guys what it is and why you do it.
Sure. So basically what we are is we're a lighting package, but instead of running AC wires and using wireless communications, we use Cat5 to the fixtures. And so we can avoid pretty much all of the technical challenges that product manufacturers like LED fixture manufacturers or smart home product fixture manufacturers, all those product designers spend about half their time dealing with two problems. One of them is power conversion from AC to DC. And then the other thing they deal with is the wireless protocols and all the different standards and everything else. And watching your podcast, I can see, you have made that eminently clear. All the challenges. So what we do is instead we just convert one time in the home into DC. From that panel, we distribute, the Cat5 wires out. In fact, you should be able to see my screen here.
We can see your screen. Yeah, we can see that you've got the plan pulled up for the basement of the Hobbit Hole there. I see it.
Good. Okay. So basically we can do like one AC DC conversion and then go into our distribution panels here. And by doing so, you're now all DC from that point forward. So it just kind of makes it more sense because you can run the thin Cat5 wires out to lights and the switches, and it's safer. When you and I connected, I was like, oh, DIY, we're actually making a path for individuals to be able to buy the product outside of the typical electrician channel, because it is perfectly safe. I mean, you can, we've got these systems installed everywhere inside of showers and homes, and low voltage DC has that benefit of safety. So there's even a conversation that I had with the CEDIA, Custom Installation Design Integration Association, because electricians have been trying to lobby to get everything, even like 12 volts and above. They want to say that requires an electrician to install. And that's really frustrating a lot of the low voltage installers, because with products like Lumen Cache out there, instead of it requiring all that experience that an electrician would have of going through, years of apprenticeship, because you're essentially designing a high voltage, dangerous power level system for every single home. And so you need to have that kind of experience or you're going to, burn a house down. But with Lumen Cache, it's designed and built in the factory essentially, and then it just gets installed in the home. So like when we have one of these little driver modules, for example, this is a 30 watt DC driver module. When the UL guys were doing the tests and they were telling us, okay, yeah, it's safe for this and that, they came back with me and they said, well, you passed everything except for the overload test. I'm like, what do you mean I didn't pass the overload test? And he says, yeah, we can't make it overload. So
that's not that's not how
that's,
you fail.
yeah, I'm like, so do I pass? You know, it's like, why, what do you mean I failed? So they ended up, of course, but they tried everything. I mean, they had, at first they had just sealed the vents on the enclosure, and then they put the thing inside of like 4 inches of foam and just trying to overload this thing. And they said, yeah, that's just the power level just keeps going down. And that's because there's like thermal rollback features in this thing, and plus in the other AC/DC regulator, it has the same kind of thing. So it's like, from a safety perspective, it's perfect for people who are interested and capable in doing their own systems. I mean, there's plenty of people that can certainly pull their own wires and install the system. So, and we don't feel like it's taking anything away from the electricians, because most people don't want to do this. You know, most people don't want to build their own house. Uh, but I think that for those who can, they should be able to. So, um, and of course, the coolest thing, which I loved, I caught your, oh, I don't know which podcast it was, but a couple ago, you were talking about how you want to be able to hack all the different things in your home, and that's actually a big part of Lumencast, is the fact that we give you it's an open system, so we give you the information needed so that you can make your own modules and you can tie it into the system and tap off the 12-volt accessory power, so you don't have to convert all the way down from AC. Um, and you can use the communications bus inside of it. So it's kind of fun. It's a perfect application. And I just love the design of your house. This is a really cool
Thank you.
project. You know?
Thank
It's
you.
certainly an exciting project.
Yeah, it's a unique build, and we're certainly coming into some unique challenges along the way, and that's okay. But this is something I'm excited about, and so I'm happy that it was Rich, right? Rich Campbell, that said, "Hey, you need to talk to this guy Derek." So he's here,
He's certainly a
hanging
big
out
fan.
as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
is he online? Hey, Rich.
yeah, he's in here. He should be here in the chat somewhere. I checked on him early on, so he's here.
He's one of those early adopters, and we've been, I mean, so we've been putting systems in now since 2012. I forget exactly when Rich's system went in, so he can hopefully chat and tell us when. But with the early adopters, I don't want to have to maintain the original, I'm going to call it the prototype product, long term. And so what we're doing is we're actually giving all of the early adopters a free upgrade to the new L2 product. And so he's one of those people that'll get, a nice fresh install of all the core pieces back in the closet. The switches and lights don't have to change, but you get all new little modules in the closet, and we're resetting the warranty clock on it too. So it's good. It's good to show loyalty for your early fans.
He's excited. So a couple questions have popped up here in the chat already, Derek, and one of them is about distance. So what do you see? First, tell us what voltage you use, and at what point do you start to see a drop? How far can you go before you're not getting the voltage that you expect?
That's a really common first question, is like, what voltage do you?
He froze. And then the most important thing I'm going to tell you is, dang it. Oh, that figures. Bye, Derek. Oh, he'll be back. He'll be back. Oh, man. His voltage dropped, huh? Darn it. Well, and there we go, because that's how we do it. It is a perfect freeze. We should take a screenshot. I'll take a screenshot for you, Derek, so you can see what you look like. Oh no, the whole call just dropped. Well, Rich, you can tell us what voltage. Don't press the... I tried to grab that picture, but it's gone already. So let's see. Richard says Cat 5 runs from one end of the house to the other. So a good 60 feet. He'll be back. I'm just going to stay in the call. He'll be back. China just blocked the internet. Don't give away our secrets. Whack. How you doing, Paul? Yeah, the V2 system is 24 to 48 volts. Oh, that's true. It is saved on the stream. We can always go back and watch it. I'm just going to hang out here and wait for Derek to come back. It's a new song I just wrote. So we can talk about some of these other things, some of these questions. So Blade says regular bulbs or special bulbs. He'll talk about it when he comes back, but basically any bulbs. What he told me before was you can basically make your own fixtures if you want. So what I've done and what I've got here tonight, what I've got here tonight are some of the things that I bought to test out, to try and use with this Lumen cache system, and I think it's going to work really well. So I'll start by showing you the ones that I like the most. This is what I like the most. So this is one of those, what do they call these? Oh, there he is. He's back. These are like a cob or something. So it's a circuit or lights on the circuit board or something. We're getting there. He's coming.
Hey,
sorry. He is.
My fiber. So this is kind of funny story. So 2 days ago, our internet and it turns out that a rat chewed through the fiber. So I am on my phone for the moment until Echo. She's making a call right now to get them back online. But can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you guys hear him again? Should work.
Should work. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the bar going, so they can hear you.
Okay, good. So anyway, I apologize. I was answering the question about the different voltages. And so LEDs are constant current devices. And so they actually, you put, you want to raise the voltage until the current level is met. So what happens with the Lumen cache system is that these drivers automatically adjust the current, and they monitor the thing that the LED chip needs. What's cool about that is that it doesn't matter how far the wire is. So if you have one light that's 10 feet away, automatically bump up the voltage to compensate for the wire loss. And so each of the lights will still be exactly the same intensity. You don't have that problem where, there's voltage drop and some of the lights are dimmer than the others. I know you went through, I watched some of the other videos and you were talking about the light strip problems where you'll get droop in the lights. So you don't have that problem because they're constant current. 2 boxes of Cat 5s to a 12-watt light, so you can go.
And he's gone. Oh, there he's back, sort of.
And he's back.
We were catching some of that.
Sorry.
You were talking about constant current.
Yeah, so
and
I'm going to switch
even
off my
that
video
because you're, maybe without the video, maybe we get you. So without so you're talking about your modules providing a constant current. And since they're set to give a constant current to the lights, what the voltage is can vary, and the module will still deliver the right amount of current so that you can have the right brightness of the lights. Is that correct?
That's right. So the lights will all be the same intensity no matter how far away they are from the panel. And you get all kinds of other benefits too, like you're still maintaining a very low current through the wire. But we've run 2 boxes of Cat 5. We went 2,000 feet to a 12-watt light. So if you have a light that's all the way down at the bottom of your entrance street, for example, you've got your road that comes up to the house, the Hobbit house. So you could actually get a light all the way at the end of that long run just simply using the Cat 5. I don't recommend it because there's other ways. You're probably going to want to power other things. So, but the point is that it has that flexibility. And we've got big apartment buildings that we're running. They were probably the longest runs that I've seen at about 220 feet. I don't recommend that you run outside of the Ethernet spec. And the only reason I say that is, let's say 3 years from now, we've got a new Ethernet module. And so you want to change from the very low level constant current to some kind of a like Li-Fi, a communicating light or something like that. If you go outside of the Ethernet spec, then it might not work over it. So I just kind of recommend that people follow the Ethernet spec.
And is that Ethernet spec does that give you a distance based on whether you have Cat 5, Cat 6, 5E, whatever?
It's just about 300 feet, 100 meters.
Okay. So if you keep it under 300 feet, you should be fine for now and for the future.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Well, at least I know it for sure in the Hobbit house, I'll be fine with 300 feet. That's no big deal.
You can make a lot of hobbits in there.
we could cram a bunch in there. So, we talked about this a little bit before, but so for everybody else, excuse me, you send a home run from each light fixture, or do you daisy chain some of them together and to go back to the panel?
It's really flexible. When I sought out to, produce this thing, it was like, how can I produce a better solution? Well, you can't make something that's restrictive if, it's not going to be better, right? So what we did is we allow the system to have multiple drops or single. You've always got a trade-off. So if you have an individual light per Cat 5, you have much more granular control. So you can control each of the lights by themselves. If you have, 3 lights on a single Cat 5 and the driver is back at the panel, those 3 lights are going to be together. They're always going to be on and off together. Now, the nice thing is that it doesn't mean that in the future you can get, as we release more products, which we are doing, we're making some light fixtures that have addressable features. So you just kind of send the power across the Cat 5, and then over the communications pair, it'll tell the lights what to do. So that's more like your the WS2812s, the addressable pixel lights, right? So the exact same concept. We can do addressable lights, or you can run each one separately, or any combination.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually, because I can imagine in our situation that there's going to be we're gonna want both. I think there's going to be some places where definitely it's a more individual light control would be good, but certainly not everywhere necessarily.
Yeah, it was the same process you went through when you were laying out all your low voltage devices. You'll kind of think about it and you'll say, oh, okay, kitchen, bedside table. Those are areas that you might want to have more stuff in the future.
Yeah.
If it's a closet or something like that, you're like, yeah, I'm kind of good. Turn my light on and off. I don't need to do much more.
Right. Okay. So, what was I going to ask about? Oh, so when you are daisy chaining them, you would bring a Cat 5 cable to one light, and then that light, there would be a connector there that you would run another Cat 5 to the next one and to the next one, just like that?
Yeah, and in fact, all the devices. So if you go onto if you go to orders.lumencache.com, I'm sorry I can't show you these things at the moment.
I will pull it up.
So if you go to orders.lumencache.com, that's the B2B site that the dealers use for buying stuff. There's some tech information, but if you go to the shop button, obviously, and then over on the left-hand side, you'll see a list of categories.
Got it.
And in there, you'll see inputs. So, for example, you can look at light switches.
Oh, yeah.
And on those, you can see that there's 2 RJ45 jacks. I think it shows a picture of it. But there's basically an in and an out. So you can just kind of go from a light down to a switch, over to another switch. If you've ever done, AC wiring, you know that there's 3 ways, 4 ways. You have to buy a different switch for the ends and in the middles, right? With Lumen Cache, because it's just communicating, all the switches are the same. So you don't have to worry about buying different types of switches. You just buy the one type box of that, and then just kind of plug them in, whether they're 3-ways, 4-ways, multi-ways, whatever. Same thing on the lights. The lights usually have 2 RJ45 jacks. So one is going to come in. If you look at the
I pulled up a sensor here, and it's showing me the back of the device, and it's got an in PDM and then an out next.
Right. So that's the SIB, as we call it, smart interface block.
Okay.
And so all it is it's just converting from the RJ45 signaling to the 2 wires of the LED. And then there's another 4 wires on the side, or a little harness that plugs into your accessories. So, you were talking about having a little Raspberry Pi or a little ESP32 device powered from things, right? Well, you need 12 volts power. And so right there, at any one of the Cat5 ends, you've got the black and red wire is your 12 volt power. And we can do up to like 2 watts, so it's enough to power a Raspberry Pi. That's actually how we power the motion sensors and the touch pads and devices like that.
And somebody's asked a question here that I'm sure comes up. So is this to replace traditional 110 volt or alongside it?
Yeah, it's really for replacing it. There's been a bunch of studies that show how it's called multiple energy systems, MES. Right now, you already have multiple energy systems. We have for a couple decades, because you always have your phone systems, your low voltage, and then you have the high voltage, right, in a house. So you've already had multiple networks. All we're doing is we're transitioning more of the products, like the lights and the switches, USB chargers, exhaust fans, ceiling fans, garage door opener, doorbell. So we're moving all those things over to the DC realm because they're already DC. And it just makes more sense to have them. And by having an open platform as opposed to a more closed system, we're inviting partners to make their products on top of the platform too. So we got Lotus LED lighting, for example, makes gorgeous light fixtures. And so they've got about 15 different models that they're going to release this year with the Lumen Cache connector on it. It's the same exact light. It's just that they didn't include the AC/DC driver. They just have a connector instead. There's 2 indoor air quality sensor companies that are making the little JST connector. It's called that 4-pin connector.
Oh yeah.
So you can plug that little JST jumper back and forth. And of course you can also embed the entire thing. So you've got a Cat5 jack that's ready to go with a Lumen Cache connector, and you just plug it right in. It goes back to the panel and then communicates that way.
And now when we talked before as well, you mentioned that you could do, or that I could use any kind of light basically, or pretty much, right? And I actually received the things that I ordered from AliExpress to kind of test out to see what I would use. And just like you're saying, these lights here, I got a couple different sizes. I don't know, you can't see them, but they're these ones that sort of look like, I don't know, they're just cylinders, and then the light comes out the top, and they're different sizes. But what I discovered, and these are sometimes things that are hard to tease out when you're ordering things online, but what it turned out is it just has a little, I don't know if you want to call this a controller, but basically you put your AC 110 in here, and then it just converts it to, I think these ended up being 24 volts. I think these are 24 volt lights. I can't remember for sure, but anyways, I hooked them on my bench power supply and just turned them up and down, and sure enough, you can just connect a voltage to these 2 little wires, and you control the light completely. So this would be something that you could completely, you could control this or fit this easily enough into your system, even though this isn't necessarily, a light that's on your site.
Yep, you can bypass the driver or cut out the driver. You just have to look at it and just make sure that it's in the right voltage range. So sometimes when you get bigger lights, like the 2x2s or 2x4 lights, sometimes they'll put 74 85 to even 90 volts through the LED arrays, and that's why they have all the UL certifications and everything around it. If you do take apart a light, do note that you are breaking the UL cert on it. But DIYers, for example, that are doing their own home wiring, they're already doing that. So
Yeah, we don't care about that. we don't
need those
not this
things,
audience. And I'm kind of laughing like, I don't think this is UL listed. I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Anyways.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, no,
Well,
exactly.
you do.
And if you're buying stuff from, Alibaba or stuff like that, most likely, it doesn't have the certs on it. From my perspective as the manufacturer, of course, I do have to have that. So we have UL 2108, which is a low voltage system. And then, there's a bunch of requirements that we have to have as a manufacturer.
How many watts can you typically expect to get through one of these Ethernet cables safely?
Yeah, that's a great question too, because I don't like to go over 50 or 60 watts. Once you go over that, you're really pushing the cable a little bit too much. They can heat up. If you have a lot of high stuffing factor, in other words, you got a lot of cables going through a small hole and going through 5 layers of joist, then you can definitely run into a problem long term. After 15, 20 years. but anyways, to avoid that problem, I like to stay below that. I've seen companies, Silvertel makes a little module that goes up to 200 watts of PoE over a Cat5. But again, I think you're asking for trouble there. So I definitely recommend you stay below the 60 watt range.
Yeah, I know I've seen 100 or even 150 watt PoE switches and such. So, but then, when you look at some of these lights, like I don't remember what the wattage was on those ones I just showed, but I've got these others that I really like. And these are just simple little LED squares basically, or little panels, inside this little silicone. And these are like, 9, maybe 6, something like that. They're really low.
Yeah.
So you could very easily put a whole bunch of those on one.
Right. So, Ohm's Law is your friend.
Yes.
Right.
It's not just a suggestion,
so
it's the law.
Yeah, you just take, watts equals, current times volts. And so if you want to find out what the volts are and the current, you can just do the math and figure out. You take the watts divided by the volts and you'll get your current, or the watts divided by the current, you get your volts. So you can pretty easily figure out topically, what is it. So if you measure the volts at the LED and then the wattage of the whole fixture, take about 85% efficiency as a typical AC/DC driver. And so you can divide by the 0.85 and you figure out, okay, that's your watts into the thing. That'll tell you the volts, or you measure the volts, which is easy to measure without having to disconnect the wire in series to get the current, right? And then that'll tell you right away whether or not a fixture is compatible. So once you say, and then our drivers are pretty slick, because if you go to the CC driver, so if you go on the orders.lumen.com over to the it's constant current up towards the top. I'm sorry, I can't see what you're doing. So
yeah, sorry. Let's see. We've got panel modules, inputs, lights.
Yeah, so up in the panel module section up at the top, it'll say current or constant current.
Oh yeah, current. There you go. Okay.
Or you do a search for CC. So that little module, if you notice, there's 2 little dip switches on it. So you can choose 4 different current levels to match whatever your fixture is.
Oh.
So instead of buying different drivers, there's dozens and dozens of different drivers because they try to optimize them. What I did is I made a wide diversity driver. And by that, what it means is it can work all the way down to 3 watts, all the way up to about 28 watts, 30 watts. And the voltage can range, the output voltage can range anywhere from 9 volts all the way up to about 60 volts.
Yeah, it says on here 9 to 60.
Yeah. So we're staying within the category 2, class 2 wiring and class 2 safety level. but we also provide a really wide diversity there so that you can plug in just about any light. If you go down to Home Depot, Lowe's, and you just, grab a light fixture off of the shelf, you'll see like most of them have the little AC DC driver. Then there's a little 10-inch whip that connects to the light.
Yep.
Quite literally, all you got to do is, without power being turned on, cut the wire, and then funny story about that. When I was 10, by the way, I did that. I cut a live AC wire, and maybe that's why I ended up doing this whole thing, because it vaporized about like a quarter inch wide and about a 1/8 inch high hole in the in the alignment pliers that I cut it with. Just boom. So I think I was shaking from adrenaline for the next half hour after that from fright.
Yeah.
But it really gives you an appreciation for the amount of energy that's in an AC circuit. And now it's funny because you're working on Lumen Cache stuff, and it doesn't, it's so safe, and you can just you can chew on the wires if you want. It's not going to hurt you. So you just get really relaxed, and then you start going back to AC things. Then you get stung by accident because you're getting a little negligent with it. But
forgot you had to be careful sometimes.
Yeah. So the CC drivers. Yeah. So always safety first on everything. But you can just take any standard light fixture, and that's basically what we do. When I'm sourcing products, I work with about 13 different factories. So we've got 2 of the final assembly factories are in the U.S. In Chicago. So all the metal comes from Chicago, and then we do the final assembly there in Florida. And but the fixtures, those are pretty much off the shelf, and all we have to do sometimes is change the driver to a connector. We call them the SIBs, the SIB connector.
Now these those modules, those like the constant current modules, and I was actually poking around while you're talking too, and it looks like you got one that varies the voltage for dimming. Is that what that one does? Switched voltage driver, dimmable?
Yeah, dimming is just kind of built into the system. Once you deviate away from the old AC standard, all kinds of things become available to you. So dimming it just comes with it. You can set the DM module. So if you want to kind of walk people through the different pieces of the system, that's a kind of interesting.
Let's do that because we need to do that, because part of what I would like to do is get an understanding of what do I need. Right. You've looked at the plans. You gave me kind of a layout of lights, and I'd love to go through, what's the entire hardware picture that I'm looking at here. And we can leave out maybe the actual exact light fixtures, because I may make some variation in that. But as far as, what's going to be the control panel, and I don't know what all is involved. So yeah, walk us through that.
Okay. I'm actually going to turn my camera video on here.
You want to try and turn
Flip this over.
There you go.
So you can see something at least.
There's something. Okay.
And of course, I got this zoom off.
I think we're probably causing some sort of inception here. We're going to tear a hole in the universe, probably.
The best.
Oh no, there he goes. Derek's network bandwidth is low.
We had a facial recognition software running the Lumen Cache lights, so that we had, and we did it in conjunction with a hacker group in Minnesota. Oh no. And the video feed was heading back to Minnesota. So you've got a couple of key modules. Obviously, you have lights and switches. Can you see this module here?
Dang, that's really not showing up too well. That's hard to see.
Yeah. Maybe I can send you a link.
Yeah, maybe. Let's try that, and then we can both be looking at it separately.
I can't share because my PC is offline. See?
Oh, that's true. Dang it.
Give me a minute.
Best laid
Well, we'll go through.
plans.
Let's just go through the pieces. I'll walk you through it.
Okay.
You can
I'll go
steer the
back.
ship.
I'll look at it on the website there. Is that probably the best place to kind of?
Yeah. Just go through the components, and then
Okay.
there's a whole learning management system that we're putting together that has the training videos and everything else. That's what I was trying to show you, was the training slides that comprise that new LMS.
Cool.
But again, your audience, I know Rich, so if the rest of your audience is the same, you guys are like totally on board with this. You'll catch it.
Yeah, we're somewhat educated, typically just enough to get ourselves into trouble.
That's right. That's what makes life fun. So basically, if you go down the list on the panel, it's kind of in order of the way you would select the products for a project. So the top thing, you typically have the enclosure. You're going to have the metal enclosure that houses the AC/DC power supply, the PDMs, the power distribution modules. That's the yellow box.
Okay.
And then those are kind of the backplane. So if you want to think of it as your old PC, it had a backplane motherboard, and then you'd plug cards into it. So the cards, the expansion cards, are going to be things like the constant current or constant voltage driver. So you need outputs and inputs, just like any control system. So your outputs are going to be the drivers for lights or strips and bulbs. And we have two different kinds, because there's constant current, which is the bare LED chips kind of lights. And then you have strips or bulbs, where they actually have their own current regulators built into them. And you don't know how long the strip is going to be, and you don't know how many bulbs are going to be attached into a fixture, for example. So that's more like traditional AC wiring. So we needed two different types of drivers for that, two different outputs.
Okay.
So you got the CC and the SV, for example.
Right.
So bulbs and strips are SV, and they're color coded. It's red, so it tells you like, okay, this is constant voltage. And then you have CCs and CCUs, which are constant current drivers for constant current type lights. So that's the output side. On the input side, you have switches, touchpads. Those are the devices, buttons. You can have like a button on your closet. So when you open up a pantry door or a closet, the light automatically turns on. And because it's easy to just run the 1 Cat 5 up to the light and then down to the little button switch, you can stack those two things together. So something has to read the button, because we don't actually use the switch to switch the power. Right. The switches just tell the DM. So there's a dimming module or an SW module. The DM, and we only made the SW module because builders are notoriously cheap. Sorry. So they're kind of like, yeah, I don't want to put any of this control shit in there. I don't even want the dimming, And I'm like, well, I can't take the dimming out. So it's like, what's the cheapest thing you can put in here? Because they just want to, that's what they do now. They only put basic lighting in, right? You put a light switch in and dimming. So we had to make something that was matching what the current industry does. So what's cool is that you can just put, like a builder can put the SW module in. It does not do any dimming. It's a lower cost module. But then the homeowner can just simply go into the closet and just go pop in the DMs. And now all of a sudden they've got the fully controllable model with the, the gateway that controls through your phone, things like that. So that's why we made the SW. But basically the DM is the module. The dimming module is the smarts of the system. So it reads a switch, and then it creates what's called a channel. So if you can look at the PDM, power distribution module, there's 16 ports. And the 16 ports, each one of the ports that the RJ45 jack has that goes to the wire, to the field device, each one has its own socket associated with it. This is actually what our patent is about. It's about the ability for each device to have its own power and communication requirement. So you can pop in a different device into each port and bind them together with some kind of connection. And so that connection we call channels. So on the PDM, there's 16 channels to choose from. And the 16 channels let you group lights together. So let's say you've got, 4 lights in a living room, and then you've got a couple of, or take a kitchen, for example. Maybe you got 4 lights overhead in the kitchen, and then you have under cabinet lights, and then you might have a task light over the sink, something like that. So the 4 lights that are in the main room, you want to have all of them turn on and off together, but it's only one switch. Or maybe it's 2 switches in a 3-way configuration, but you still only have one zone of light. So the switches are going to go attached to one of the wires, goes back to the PDM. In the PDM socket, you're going to plug a DM in. The DM is monitoring the switch activity. Then the DM, when the switch goes on and off, the DM will then tell, ooh, my internet's back. Yay.
Yay.
Echo. Sorry. Wait, you say you. Is it green? Hang on. We're checking the router.
Okay.
Here. The router's green. Yay. Give me a second, I'll get back on. So anyways, the channel is how you can group lights together. And what's nice is
Maybe he's switching over. Rich, maybe you can answer that about the Home Assistant integration and the, what you use and how you have to make that work. But this is the unit, which actually just looks like a Raspberry Pi, but it's probably not.
Yeah, so the gateway is a Raspberry Pi in there with the special hat on it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, in fact, by the way, for your audience, we'll do a special gig there for them. We'll give a little special discount on the
you cut out right when you say get a special something for your audience, something.
DIY version. So what I'm gonna do is make a DIY version that just simply doesn't have our software. Am I back? Can you hear me now?
Okay, maybe you're back. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. We can.
That, my friend, is how you build anticipation. Hold on, I'm trying to get on the internet again. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, good.
Maybe
good.
not.
I can hear you just fine. I just said that's how. No, but what we're making is a gateway that doesn't have our software on it.
Okay. A gateway that doesn't have your software.
You can complete it, but we'll give you all the protocol information. So there's a So there's a bunch. If you go to the forum,
I think what he's saying
go to the website lumencache.com section there for integrations with him. I'm trying to get back online. Hold on, I got to open up my Zoom.
Okay. We'll get you back in a minute. You can explain all that to us again. Yeah, I think I know what you're saying, but yes, these guys are definitely, you're building anticipation perfectly, tremendously.
Sorry. What's next? What's next? Oh, time is up today. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, right. Cliffhanger.
No, I won't. I would never do that to you guys.
Used to work with the FBI transcribing tapes that sound like that. Is that? How old were you when you did that, Rob? Transcribing tapes for the FBI? Holy cow. Beep, 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 beep. Oh. We got 2 Dereks now.
Yeah, but the gateway, if you get, there's a link to the forum, and the forum there is, and you can see how conversation. Okay, am I still here?
Okay. I think we're still getting
My bad.
leftovers from your previous self.
Yeah, right, right. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, we actually can.
Yay. All right, we're back. I'm going to turn off my VPN. You know, you talk about complexity. So in order for me to get to the Google products here, I have to have a VPN. and and so of course I use Google Docs, you know, extensively. So it's a bit of a challenge, but can you see me now? Or
I nope. I just see your young. There you go.
hey.
Now we got you. All
Okay.
right. Looking good.
Yay.
Fiber's back. Yay.
Thank the technicians of the world. They make stuff run.
Awesome. Okay, so you were explaining to us about the gateway and the DIY version of the gateway.
Yeah, yeah. So that's going to be exciting part because there's a lot of people that really do want to hack their own systems. And so what we're doing is we're opening up the hardware to allow you to see the whole protocol. You can talk directly to the DM modules right over the protocol. What we're also going to do is to make a couple of libraries to make that simpler. So you can attach at a higher level as opposed to trying to make the low level protocol. And there's some great examples of what guys have done with Node-RED and OpenHAB, I think they used. Control 4 is not the more commercialized systems. So I'll make a special and I'll do that through your site there. It'll be the DrZz special.
Oh, yes.
You know? So
Yeah,
the
Node
DIY.
Red. Yeah, the DIY guys. That's us. You're speaking our language now. Thank you.
That's
That's
right.
awesome. That's a missing piece, and for something like this, I mean, that's you got us all excited, but then if we can't kind of get in there and hack around and integrate it the way we want, then we'll kind of lose interest. So, good job.
I did it myself. You know, it's like it was funny because I used to sell Andover controls. So they were my career started running a big 50 building pharmaceutical campus. So one of the most complex applications of heating, ventilating, air conditioning controls that you can imagine for laboratories. And I was always pushing the limits of the products. At the time we had these little thermostats, for example, that would show the temperature or the humidity. And I remember the salesman one time, he calls back to the support engineers at the mothership in the company, and he says, "Did you know that an EMX 170 can have a scrolling display on it of text?" And the guy on the other side goes, "Are you with Derek?" So yeah, I was kind of known for doing the same thing. So, I want to make that available, but at the same time, I have to make sure that I'm protecting the product to
Yeah.
make sure that the reputation is maintained, because otherwise it's kind of like someone says, "Oh, Excel sucks." Well, it's like Excel doesn't suck, your spreadsheet sucked.
The way you used it.
You used
So
it, exactly. Yeah.
Rob's got a good question here. He's just curious about what protocol does it use? Is it TCP? Does every module get an IP address? Just give us a little rundown on that.
It's analog. Yeah. So we use analog signaling out to the light switches. And interesting tidbit about that. So the Government Services Agency, the GSA, is the largest landlord in the United States. All the government properties. They're doing 2 pilot projects now with Lumen Cache because they learned about it. They did some studies with National Renewable Energy Labs and Lawrence Berkeley Labs. And so we got to the point now where the IT group was involved, and they had that exact question. They're like, okay, cybersecurity is a big issue. We don't want to have, all these little exposed nodes and everything like that. And he goes, "What protocol do you use?" I said, "Analog." He's like, "Oh my gosh, that's brilliant." So we have just the only exposure that you have is the gateway, and the gateway is also where all the IP occurs. So the TCP/IP node, you can talk to that with sockets. The protocol document, I don't think I'm sharing my screen yet, actually. Am I?
We're seeing you, yes, right now.
Okay, you're just seeing me. Hang on, let me share my screen. So the protocol control document shows, how the different sockets work inside. So for example, there's 3 dedicated sockets just for control systems. And then there's 50 sockets available for user interfaces. So you have, your tablets, smartphones, user devices, etc. And the reason we broke it up that way is so that the three dedicated ones are for more permanent connections that you don't want to lose, if you're tied into a control system. There's a gentleman actually that's making a product called Think Automatic. And what's cool is that he made his own AC light switches hardware because he was struggling to get this fully automatic AI-based control system. And so he and I have been touching base for years. And, I congratulate him when he got his hardware out, because that's really hard actually to make hardware. And, it turns out in the end, he's kind of like, can't we just use Lumen Cache? So, uh, anyways, we're changing the protocol a little bit to allow the buttons to be separated from the outputs. That way, when you touch a button, it can go into the AI. The AI can then decide like what kind of light, how much light, what zones do you want to do. So it's going to be a cool, really interactive smart home, Rosie from the Jetsons kind of capability with his type of application layer on top of it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the system. So you start with the PDM, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you base the PDM, since you have 16 channels, it said. You call them channels? Is that the right?
Correct. Yeah. You got 16 channels to group lights together.
Okay. And so on each of those channels, that's going to be, sort of one zone or one dedicated area of lights typically. So
Yeah,
one room
there's actually a great, this is a good section here. Let me present from this section forward here. Okay, so you can see the little red little tabs.
Uh-huh.
So there's your main DC input, usually 48 volts. And then you got this accessory, never connect AC power to it. And then you got these ports. So a port is tied to a socket.
Okay.
Right. So you plug your Cat 5 in down here, and then the devices go up in the top. And it just kind of goes along, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way across. So there's 16 of these sets, right? In each one of them, let me go back one here, right? So in each one of those, you can plug in a driver or an input. So for example, if you plug it into port 8 here, it's going to come out this RJ45 jack at the bottom.
Okay.
Next to it, if you notice, there's the channel, and you can put different kinds of drivers in. So like the constant current driver or a constant voltage driver, or these, input devices, and you can stack them too. Let's see. So I already mentioned that these are constant current, wire in series. They go to that kind of light. Constant voltage. There's for strips and bulbs, anything with an internal voltage regulator, and all the lights are wired in parallel. So those are strips and bulb drivers. So that's the only two types of drivers you need for outputs. And then you have inputs. So this is going to be switches, touchpads, keypads. You can make your own. So you had mentioned in the Hobbit Hole, for example, you wanted to have like hidden light switches.
Yeah.
Right.
Or like a capacitive touch where you just kind of touch like a wooden panel on the wall and it'll turn things on and off.
Yeah. Or if you wanted to have like the old style buttons, you can make, so any kind of a button or switch. It's better to have momentary versus toggle. You can use toggle, but the momentary is better because you're kind of sending it a command. You're saying like, I want to go on or off or dim or raise. And all we use is a resistor value. So when you touch the top, you're shorting it. When you touch the bottom, it's going through a 4.7 k ohm resistor. So your capacitive touch piece just has to create, different resistance values, and that's it, which is pretty easy to do through either a relay or read or use transistors. So that's how you can make your own input devices. And then once it comes in here, this is where, the channels come to play. And channels are kind of like CB radio. So you got one person talking and everybody else listening on the channel.
Okay.
So, if you're in channel 1 or channel 2, channel 8, the center pins are all the same. They're connected to the DM. And then you got 16 channels around the outside. So it was a very dense way of selecting 16 different channels. There's channel 9, 10, etc., 16.
So when you have an output and an input, or maybe even multiples, you can set them to the same channel with that jumper?
Right. So and by the way, this is kind of fun because this is like the most complex part of the whole system is channels. Most people get tripped up here. So you have a light switch. That sends its signal to the DM. The DM sends its signal down the center pins of the channel jumpers. You choose a channel with a little, selector strap. That goes to the other ports on the PDM, and anybody else that has the same channel selected is going to control that driver.
Okay. That makes sense.
And then, of course, the driver powers the light.
All right.
So that's pretty
that
much
makes
it.
sense.
I can step through it again, but your users can rewind this and play back.
Yeah.
So you do the same thing when you have multiple lights, right? So if you've got a switch to the DM, that's the smart part, choose a channel, and then the channel can go across for multiple lights. So here you've got 6 lights, 2 lights at a time connected to a single driver, but they're all listening to channel 5. And so this DM is now controlling all 6 of these lights grouped together. So it's really easy to change groupings. That I ran into that all the time when we were doing the home theater systems with my old business. And someone would change the direction of the room. They thought they wanted the room this way with the theater screen, and then they say, no, I really want it this way. And when you do that, the lights that are over the front of the screen, for example, you want them to be turned off independently of the other lights in the room. So with Lumencast, it's really easy just to boop, boop, change the jumper. And now all of a sudden, these 2 lights are controlled this way and these 2 lights are off of a separate one. But if you remember what I said about once you have these lights paired together on the same channel, you can't individually control them. So this is where it's helpful to have an independent Cat5 out to each one. And you don't need Cat6, by the way. You can use like cheap Cat5, not cheap Cat5, excuse me. You can use Cat5. Do not use a $30 or $40 box of aluminum Cat5. I actually have a box that we use for testing purposes because it's kind of like the worst case scenario. I think it's like 80 ohms per 1,000 feet or something ridiculous like that. Whereas Cat5 is typically about I think 40 or 20. Anyways, it's like twice the resistance of a normal copper Cat5.
So just I can imagine what some of these guys are thinking or asking. You can't have more than one channel for a device, correct? So one switch, it's only going to be controlling one channel, and each light can only be listening to one channel.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
If you it's kind of like 2 people trying to talk at the same time on a CB radio. One's going to step on the other. Or what happens is, it's kind of fun actually. If you have 2 of them, 2 DMs on the same channel, you'll get this really weird flickering thing. So you were asking me about making like a candle shape.
Yeah, like a candle effect where it just kind of flickers.
I have never seen an application for why you would actually want to do this on purpose, but there it is.
Leave it to me. So if I had a light listening to 2 channels, it could do that kind of flickering effect, huh? I will have to play with that.
Because basically it's listening to these 2 different PWM signals at the same time, and they're random essentially. So you might get some beats in there and some harmonics and things, but it's going to look very similar to a flickering light. Yeah.
All right, that sounds perfect. I'll do it. I'll test that one out.
Yep.
So
funny, I've seen that symptom, and of course, people usually want to fix it.
Not this guy. Not this guy.
I like it.
So if you were going to run, individual, wire, individual Cat 5 wires to your various different lights, you're going to end up with a lot of those PDM, is it right? PDM modules, right?
Yeah, you'll have quite a few of the PDMs, right? So you can see there's 16 each. There was a house that we were just designing before this call, and it's in Montana, but it's a really small house, very modest. And I think it's, what is it, 1,500, 1,800 square feet, but it was one PDM. That was it. Because they used, like in the bedroom, they just used this kind of center light.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to do that. There we go.
We got it. You got it. There you go. Yeah, you captured it.
So this is just one Cat 5 for the whole room. That's it. You'd run up to the light and then down to the switch. That's it. And it's just one port on the PDM. What I was recommending to him, if he wanted, was that I said, you could do in the bedroom, for example, you could do like 8 3-watt lights, because they're all really small, they're low intensity, so you're not staring up at a big bright light. Of course you have dimming, but distributing the light across an area makes it more comfortable oftentimes. It's going to be a different look, so this is where lighting design comes into place. But you could do 4 of those 3-watt lights with just 2 home runs, so it's still only 2 ports.
Yeah.
And then you just,
so I'll have to do some thinking. So when you laid out, because you did do sort of a layout for the Hobbit Hole, what did it come out to with PDMs? What did you, when your design, what did you come up with?
I forgot. Hang on a second. Let me share the screen here. Yeah. So you can see the screen here, right? The design.
Uh-huh.
Turn my Addressable off. Turn that off. So I forgot how many we came up with. Usually the process is I'll go through here and I'll do this design first. Then this particular Visio tool is nice because you can do the shape report, spit this out to Excel, and then we import this. As soon as that's done, we import it into the quoting tool.
This is the part where you share all your secrets on YouTube, so be careful. I've done that before. All your passwords and stuff. I've done that.
That's right.
Too many
my
times.
VPN is off. I think I turned my VPN off again. Yep. Yeah. Hang on.
Oh, that's your VPN? Oh yeah, WireGuard, huh? Nope. Now he's gone. 4 PDMs for your basement, 6 rooms, 9 switches, 18 different light loads. That's what Richard has. Blade has all my passwords. Blade is the keeper of the passwords.
So Richard has 4 PDMs. But what's interesting is I think if he were to redo the system now with the new tools, it would probably take a lot less wires because remember, we're like 4 times the power now per PDM. So we used to be limited. The PDM input can only take up to like 16 amps of energy. So if you're looking at, let's do some math here. If you got 16 amps times 12 volts, come on. Can you see my screen okay?
Uh-huh. See you bouncing around in a spreadsheet.
Yeah. So if you got 16 amps times 12 volts, we are math. Come on, math.
Math in public.
I like how my Google tool is still loading here.
I don't even have my phone. I can't do math either right now.
There we go. Let me get off Google for a second. We'll do it faster. Okay. So, think about it. If you got 16 amps times 12 volts, we've only got 192 watts that we could put through the PDMs before. Now we've got, essentially 52 volts. So we got 832 watts per PDM now. And again, that's 52 watts per port. That's basically what we're doing for like the big commercial projects.
Yeah. That's way more than I would do for what I'm doing.
Sure, but you've got that flexibility. So again, as we release more products, so as we release like the next thing we're doing after the indoor air quality stuff and the doorbell button is the addressable color. So right about the time, it should be right about the time when you're going to build your house there or do the assembly. We should have the first color modules, and they just you can just stack as many fixtures as you want on a single Cat 5 as long as you don't exceed the 40 or 50 watts per Cat 5.
Awesome.
But if you're going to design for what we have available today. So anyways, you take this report that spits out. So it makes this nice little floor plan report. All you do is you just grab all the components. Let's see what we came up with here. Woo.
Oh, so yeah, that Visio software just came up with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, so I made the module, and then you go in here and it says paste Visio report. And so we paste the Visio report.
And it'll give you the switch modules and the drivers and whatever else.
So here it just automatically tells you, okay, you've got 3 SVs, you got 30 CCs. Figures out your pricing. You can put your discount. This is meant for dealers, but so it figures out all the pricing and stuff. It even includes like the rough-in boxes, rough-in kits. These are the different light fixture models. So usually when you're doing drawing takeoffs, you'll have a fixture schedule. And so these are the code names for the fixture schedules. And then we've got enclosure. There's the part list. So here's all the part lists, and then we have the symbols on the side here, and then that's how the spreadsheet gets the information. Strip lights, bulbs, fixtures.
So for everybody who didn't get to hear our conversation before, how do you compare the price of this system to a traditional, 120 AC kind of a system?
Well, that was a big deal for me. I felt like I wasn't ever going to be able to disrupt the industry and replace the AC system unless I could meet it cost-wise. So that's actually a big deal. We are just about cost parity with an AC system, and we start to beat it once you start adding things like the battery backup. So, the fact that we have a backup battery kind of built into the system inside the panel, right? You can put a backup battery in here or below it. So if you were to add that to an AC system, that's rather expensive comparatively. For us, it's literally just the price of the batteries because everything else is already DC. So, and then of course, adding controls. So if you were to take a regular AC system, you start out with your lights, you do have to buy dimmable LED AC lights. Then you have to get, the dimmer package, then you have to add the controls. If you want to have third-party controls, you got to have a gateway interface. So we price out right exact with parity on those systems.
So can't ask for more than that.
That was the goal. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, I'll bet.
These cool touchpads, like I said, these things are $100 for each one of these glass ones, and they have the replaceable glass. This is printable, so there's a process where you can send in the artwork and we'll print on it underneath, and so it makes that really pretty look, and it's all customized. So you can see these actually have the little Lumen logos on them.
Oh, is that what that is?
But for light switches, I mean, these things are $8.
Right.
So much more appropriate for what you typically do if you're building a new home.
Yeah. Oh, and I think you would probably have expected it to be significantly more. It just feels like that's typically what we end up with when we have a new technology like this. It's a little more unknown. It's a little bit, newer,
right.
and et cetera.
And it
Right?
was.
A lot of times,
was.
everything that they do in building houses, they do it the way they do it because it's so cheap, and they don't want to make changes because it's more expensive.
Yeah, there's like economies of scale. I mean, when you have thousands of companies making a particular product, naturally the price is going to come down. And that's basically what happened with us too. There's like the coolest thing that's happened in the last 2 years is electric cars. Electric cars typically have 48-volt systems in them. So, the reason why Rich Campbell's system, for example, didn't have 48 volts is because we just couldn't get the parts. We couldn't get the little components that go into making these parts. So nowadays, when I used to have maybe 3 different options for driver circuits, now I have 200 different options for driver circuits. So all of that's changed over the last 8 years.
Well, this is pretty awesome. So, well, we broke ground last week on the Hobbit Hole. We are cruising. Yeah, we're cruising. I'll be heading up there this week, so we're hoping still to we'll get the actual dome parts towards the end of April and put it all together then. And shortly after that, we'll be ready to start wiring it up and all. So I need to go through this and take a peek at that and then put in my order. Basically.
So will you have internet there? Like, will you be able to?
Yeah. In fact, so right now, because we have one spot on the land that's up high on a big plateau, and you can have cell service up there. In fact, I've got a camera up there that I told the guys we would check on later in the stream once it got dark. So I'm going to check on it right now. So we have a camera up there that gets a 4G AT&T signal just fine and gives us a picture of what's going on up there. There it is. I know you can't see it, but they can see it. But I also got my shipping or my tracking information today for my Starlink dish. So we're going to do Starlink up there. And I already got signed up and the dish is in the mail. So
yeah. Now you also have like there's a cabana or something, right? There's like a power cabana.
Yeah, so we're putting in a pavilion. We're calling it pavilion because it's kind of a picnic area underneath, but we did it with a room up high. So you have all the area down below where you can have a picnic table and sit in the shade and such. But above you, there's a room, and in that room is where all the electrical control stuff's going to be. Not this probably, but like the solar inverter, battery pack will be up there. And then we will have a generator on that pad with that pavilion as well. So that's where our solar panels are going to be and our inverter.
So we didn't talk about that piece, but how many different kinds of lighting do you think you're going to have in the pavilion building?
Good question. My guess would be 2, maybe 3. We'll probably have, we'll have some lights for the picnic-y area, and then we'll have some lights inside the room. So I don't know, it might only be 2, might be 3. I didn't think about that either. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can tap off. See, if it's not enough, then it really may not justify having a Lumen Cache PDM there because there's just not enough switching. And
yeah, it's not very big. It's like 20 by 30, and the room is only half that. So the room is like 15 by 20.
Yeah, so it probably doesn't justify. It's one of those things. It's like don't shoehorn a product in where it doesn't belong. We don't do street lights, for example, because it's just long distance, small taps. Not a good application.
What we will have on there though is a bunch of RGB LEDs to do some crazy cool.
Right. So that's where you can tap, very easily. You can just take those, 48 down to 12 volt taps or something like that.
Yeah.
And these DC power supplies.
So is this slideshow that you're flipping through here, is this on your website, or is this something you're still preparing for future
This
release?
is just my notes essentially for the LMS, the learning management system. So
Okay.
so I'll definitely send you the link when we have the LMS up. But it's going to use a combination of the slides, little video clips, a whole bunch of little quizzes and tests, which should make it kind of fun. And so, but yeah, I'll publish these things so you can take a look at how, your audience can take a look at how they work.
Yeah. Um, awesome. Awesome. Well, what I want to see what other questions you guys have, and I so appreciate your time, Derek. I know you're everybody's busy, but you have quite a thing going on there. So I appreciate you taking the time with me now twice to go through and talk about this. So a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thanks for being here and being willing to come live. And I got to say, I have a lot of guests live, and most everybody does pretty well. You're like made for it. You're just like, technical difficulties aside, you're made for this.
Thank you. I was invited to Chengdu. If you want to know the scale of projects that we do. So on the one end, there's the Hobbit House, and
Right. There's this little Hobbit house.
There's a few tiny homes too, which are even smaller technically. And then, Fridays, so Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I was invited to the grand opening of a district in Chengdu, which, when I say a district, I don't know how many million square meters this is. It's huge.
Oh my gosh.
And, I was able to talk to the government people there. That was part of the nice thing about being invited. And, they're kind of like, oh, okay. So we said, why don't we just do a pilot project, And they said, well, what would be an ideal pilot project? And I'm like, I don't know, like a floor or a building. And they're like, okay. just pick a building.
Just pick a building. Okay, go ahead. That'll be your pilot building.
Yeah,
a million square
building
feet.
is a pilot project. Yeah, it's just
Oh
like
my
it's
gosh.
a whole different scale of activity. This, where I live here is kind of like Coruscant, if you're a fan of Star Wars at all.
Right. Well, I mean, looking out your window,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
building how many skyscrapers within the view of your window? And there are already 20 or 30 that you can see that are finished. So something else.
Yeah. It's just it's literally, I mean, I've been here 5 years and it still boggles my mind, the speed at which things go and how they build things. It's just incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun.
Well,
But then,
well,
take it back down to that calm. Chengdu, by the way, is a really beautiful, beautiful city. It's one of the most livable cities in China. It's very centrally located. It's got pretty clean air, and beautiful surroundings. There was a famous Chinese poet that wrote a lot about the hardships of China. China's been through a lot, over 5,000 years, and so he wrote a lot about hardships. But when he wrote about Chengdu, it was always like beautiful and nature and so, in some ways, it does kind of tie back to your Hobbit Hole because it's one of those things it seems like you've designed it to be that little family escape and, a nice, quiet area. So it's going to be fun to do that. I'm glad, I'm happy to take part of that with you.
Awesome. Well, we can thank Rich. Rich is the one that connected us. So
he is awesome. Yeah, he's always been a big fan. And he's going to sit there and go, wait a minute, I paid what?
Yeah, right. All right.
Why is it always less now? That's what you get. But you get the new free upgrade, so you're okay.
That's right. And a VIP status forever and ever.
They do. I have a tremendous amount of loyalty for the people that were those early adopters because they went through the learning process with us. There's a lot of learning that went on involved in this.
I can imagine. Well, yeah, cool. Well, I'm going to see. Do the guys have any more questions or anything else we wanted to cover? I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know I keep having kids come in my room back here too. I think it got some, I don't know what's going on out there, but they keep popping in. Oh, he's still on. So go see what they're doing.
Your kids can do the Cat 5 tipping, by the way. So, because that's a bit of a contest. I can send a link if you want to the training videos, and in there, I think one of them is the. Do you post things yourself into the list?
Yeah, into the chat there.
Let me see if I can find the playlist here. Yeah, it's this one here. So this playlist just has a couple of basic stuff, and but there's one in there that shows like how do you tip a cat 5 in 60 seconds.
Oh, really? Let's see how good
So
I can
I
get at
will
that. You gonna
I'll
email me
copy
that?
that. Yeah, let me just I'll
Or you
send it
can
in
do
the
it. You can
chat.
probably paste it into Zoom here, can't you?
I think so. Let's see, we can paste that. There you go.
Yep, there it is.
So that should be the playlist. So if you want to go ahead and you can publish that, and then everybody can hop in
Sweet.
there.
Okay, I'll post it in the chat here for everybody, and I'll put it in the video description too, if that's all right.
Sure. But
Okay.
there's one here somewhere. Like this one's really cool. This one has to do with the Lotus lights. It has to do with installation and trim.
Oh, this is awesome.
I thought I had one with the. Oh, I didn't put it in this group. I'll put it in the group, in
Okay.
the video group, because it's just like how do you tip a cat 5 in 60 seconds, and I did it. I did it when I was talking and I was taking my time, but I remember when that tool came out, the quick, easy connector tool.
Uh-huh.
And at the trade shows, there's all these guys. And at the time, I was one of the suits. I was wearing a suit going through the trade show. And they're kind of like, oh, I'll give it a shot. So I'm like, how do you do it? Okay, I see that. So I just kind of thought about it for a second. And I'm like, okay, switch, do them. And I did it in like 52 seconds, like the first time I did it. And it was just like the whole crowd like erupts. They're like, the suit succeeds. Like, I was an installer.
He tricked him, an installer in a suit.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I'll add it into this list so it's in there.
Okay.
So they don't see it.
Well, he's a ringer, yeah. Snuck him in.
But if people have questions, if they want to be on the contact list, by the way, or if they have projects and stuff, especially to be notified. So go to the contact us page, obviously, and then just put a little bit of information in there. Certainly mention DrZzs, and so we know, and also mention, DIY. You put that word in there. That way, when we make the announcements about how we're releasing to the DIY market, you guys can get a little notification of that.
Awesome. This is such a great community. These guys that are watching, and then there's a lot that'll watch a replay and they'll tell friends and all this. There's a huge community of these guys, and once they, have their hands on your gateway there, I mean, we'll have it integrated into every system pretty darn quick, I'm sure.
I mean, you can
These
see
guys will
all
make
the
sure
different. This is some conversation about the different protocols and what people are doing.
And I signed up here in this, and I need to spend some time bouncing around there too and chatting and talking. But yeah, there's Node-RED. That's Home Assistant right there, I believe. Looked kind of like it. Maybe it was just the dashboard. We can break it.
OpenHab.
That is OpenHab. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a good conversation here, and certainly, the more people that are chatting, the more I'll listen. So the more that I listen, the more products we'll make that meet your needs, and that's the key. We've got about 60 products already, and this is literally the beginning. Like I got some money 2 years ago to finish this off, but that was the biggest problem, was to make enough product so that you had pretty much 99% of everything you need for a home, and usually it's 100%. So the DIY was always in the back of my mind as something that we wanted to release. And what's nice to watch is, as I look at the forum, guys are DIYing it anyways. They're just, they're the dealers that have been putting this thing in, and then they just hack it, and they realize how easy it is to hack. And so I've been trying to help contribute to that by publishing some of the protocols and things. So in here, you'll see the.
So they're using MQTT. I saw somebody. Yeah. That's
and by the way,
easy.
If you go to the news, events, product introductions, specifications, this second file is 5 pages of pure gold. Like if you're a technical person and you understand things, this is a great document because it kind of walks you through everything that we talked about today. Each one of the pieces at a high enough level to just inform you the whole system very quickly. It's only 5 pages. And then here's the control protocol.
Oh, right there already.
Yep.
Okay. Cache forums.
And then I've got, there's another newer version of it because as I mentioned, that Think Automatic product, it wanted separation of the buttons from the control. So the other piece that we had to add into the firmware was having to do with the color lights and things. And so those are kind of the last two steps. These do not do over-the-air updates.
Okay.
So part of it was for security purposes. Again, we kind of have to deal with the highest security kind of installations. And so not having the over-the-air updates was a big benefit for us, except for that one device, the gateway. What it does mean though, however, is if you want to have an upgrade on these, there's just a quick policy we have as far as, you send a deposit, we send you new pieces, you send us the old ones back, that's it. So you can get firmware updates very quickly, and we should, but there aren't very many firmware updates.
Okay. Where? So help me one more time find that file you said was gold. I'm at the right page, or I found the MQTT Node Red post, but you had another one there.
So public forums, and then you have this new products introductions.
Okay.
And then specifications, introduction.
Oh, right there, I got it.
And then the second one, Libre introduction.
Got it. Cool.
By the way, there are some great project profiles. So if you go on here, you'll see, there's the off-grid Hobbit Hole. Here we go.
Yeah. Hey, how about that?
Check this one out, everybody. This one's awesome. So yeah, so there you go. So I hope actually, Justin, that you'll continue to, update this with your progress. Like as you kind of learn things and go through, certainly put it on here because, other people are going to be interested in it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll remember that especially as we get into that, and hopefully we'll be there, sometime late April. By the time we get an actual building, we can start putting some stuff in. We'll really be hitting it. So, no. I mean, if you're going to do like a whole building as a pilot project, you must have a pretty good supply chain, or your manufacturing process. You got enough stuff to.
That was a big deal, even during COVID, by the way. So we're shipping our first full container of product next month. We have plenty of inventory in the US already. There's the big lights are being held up right now, so 2x2s and 2x4s. And by the way, almost all of the new fixtures have the color tuning built in. So I know if everybody likes CCT adjustable lights, the fixtures do, but the drivers are still one channel. So when we release the 2-channel drivers, you won't have to change the lights. You just have to go in and then put the new driver in, and then you'll be able to have the color tuning capabilities. Oh, nice. So we are putting the little CCT selector switches in there so that you can choose from the 5 different color temperatures. That way we don't have to stock lots of different types of fixtures. It helps us too. And pretty much every product that you see nowadays, if you go online or to Home Depot, you're going to see almost all of them have those CCT selector switches.
All right. Somebody asked, are big brands doing this too, or are things heading this way?
Well, my small brain's doing it, and I've motivated a lot of big brains.
Yeah. The brands. What about? Yeah.
Is it brains or brands?
Brand.
Yeah.
Brand.
So from a big brand perspective, most of them have been shying away only because big brands are not necessarily innovators. They will buy a company like mine, but they don't want to spend the time and effort they just kind of sit there and wait. We did have conversations with some very, very big brands, the top two, as a matter of fact, in the industry for electrical products. So, French one in
GE and
particular.
GE
Yeah,
and somebody.
Schneider. Yeah. So, they and almost all of them are just kind of like, ooh, this is awesome. So they're watching pretty closely. I think the the challenge that or the benefit that we have is as a smaller company, we're very dynamic and we're not a threat. So, a lot of these product companies, I think that they've looked at us in the past and they just said like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's interesting what you're doing. I remember I used to meet the Cisco guys all the time at, Intelligent Buildings Conference and things like that. And for years, they were super cordial. They would always say, oh, how things going, Derek? What's going on? And then, all of a sudden they start to realize like I sell ports too. And, and the new generation supports PoE. It's a PoE switch. So all of a sudden it's like, oop, I switched from being a novelty to a competitor. Um, and that's okay. I think the biggest competition that this industry has is momentum of the old systems. It's so deeply rooted in every piece of our civilization. Think about it, the power grid's 120 years old, so there's 120 years of evolution that's occurred, and it's just not going to get replaced overnight. But at the same time, you know, think about how everybody charges all their devices with USB.
Yeah.
And even Apple, Apple may have used their Mustang plug on the one side, but they still use this connector on the other. So, this is a perfect example of how quickly the market can change and stick to a new standard that was not forced on them. So, that's our goal. My goal is to just simply make a better product, works great, reliable, available. Don't price it out of the market. Don't make it difficult, and then just grow this big ecosystem. And then the trick is once you get builders involved, and builders are putting the infrastructure in, then now you've got this nice smart home platform that you can hack on, build on, whatever it is. And if people want to make products for it, by the way, for example, like indoor air quality is a big deal right now. You can make those. We're making an indoor air quality switch, for example. But I welcome other companies to do that. I want other people to make products on top of the platform. I would rather lose the sale of the switches and things like that than try to be this closed system that nobody really wants to participate in. And you're going to find that with almost all the major protocols. What is it? Apple, Google, and I forgot who else got together and they made that new. What's the big unifying protocol?
Yeah.
But it was like
I can't
big
think of the name now.
Yeah, exactly. Still. So it's like, they just keep releasing new ones like that all the time. And the rapid obsolescence is such a problem in the industry. So, Lumen Cache, the whole goal of this product is to make that really stable replacement. It's like a modern replacement for the power system and the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And you put those two things together at a low level. The internet is not an application. It's a tool. It's a stepping stone to get to the cool things. So one of the funniest things is we're going to make a little video that as a part of our commercials and our pitch decks that says, if you've ever watched Halt and Catch Fire, that TV show, it was out a couple of years ago, and I thought it was a documentary about the golden age of computers when PCs were first coming out. But one of the statements the guy says is he says, the computer isn't the thing; it's the thing that gets us to the thing. Talking about the internet, of course. And so I kind of joke about, I designed Lumen Cache not to be a lighting system. I designed it to be a smart infrastructure that will enable AI, because we have so few trained, operating engineers and technicians. We need something now that's going to be simpler to use and more automatic. So Lumen Cache isn't lighting. Lumen Cache isn't the thing. It's the thing that gets us to the thing.
Nice. That's awesome.
It's going to be AI and everything else. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, Derek, thanks again. Thanks for being here. Thanks for going through this with me. You and I will be talking again as we keep moving forward on the Hobbit Hole. But thanks for being available, and yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
A bunch,
Thanks for your audience too.
Yeah. All right. See you later. How do I sign off then? There you go. All right, everybody. Well, hey, I hope that was useful. I hope that was helpful. It's certainly a cool system, and yeah, we're putting it in the Hobbit Hole. So I didn't get to the bottom line on the price there, but I got to go through the plan a little bit and probably tinker around a little bit. But we're gonna make it happen. So that's it. Adrian, how you doing? Should I bring in you missed it all, Gonzalo? That's okay, because don't worry about it. It's all recorded. It's all recorded. Let me call the kids up for sign off. Yeah, Adrian, you did just miss it, but you can go back and watch it all. Lumen cache as a way to distribute DC in the house where it's needed, and lighting is one part. Yeah, it's interesting too, Richard. He talks about the communication part, right? So you use a few of the wires for DC and for lights, but you've still got 4 wires in there you can use for other kinds of communication to whatever's on the other end as well. So there's a lot still we can do. When I did my system in 2015, it was wash cost-wise. Lumen cache cost me about the same as doing a scene-controlled AC lighting system. Yeah, I'm sure it's not going to be terrible. All right, ready, guys? So, are you ready to sign off? How you want to sign off? She can figure it out if she wants. Okay, sign off. Ready?
Wait, we're not ready.
Oh, yeah. Oh, come on in. Oh my gosh, we got all the boys. Oh my goodness.
Where's the camera?
Okay, get in here.
It's right there.
Get in here. Get in there. Oh god. Oh my gosh. All right.
Timo, get over here.
Get Timo in.
Oh, I thought it was in.
You gotta scoot in. Scoot in. There you go. Okay.
Alright,
It's
that's everybody?
as always. Thanks for watching. Until next time, adios. Ready?
As
always,
thanks for watching.
Until next time, adios. Ooh, it's a party in here. It's a party. All right, everybody. See you later. Next stream, I'll probably try and stream something from being up at the Hobbit Hole this week. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for all your help. Sir, good enough. I loved the Hobbit. I saw what you did there with the Hobbit command. So I mean, Hoobit. It's a Hoobit. Okay. Bye.